Hello, beautiful souls, and welcome to the Medium's Table. I'm your host, Michelle Gardner. This podcast is your personal invitation to join me at the intersection of the everyday and the extraordinary. Together, we'll explore the magic of mediumship, share spiritual stories, and connect with fellow mediums on this incredible journey. So grab a seat, pour yourself a cuppa, and come join us at the Medium's Table, where spirits gather and stories unfold. Disclaimer, just a heads up to all our lovely followers. Our social media is a space where we share personal stories, including those of various mediums. Let's keep the vibe positive and respect each other's beliefs. Every journey is unique, and here we celebrate the diversity of experiences. I'd like to welcome back to the show, Brooke. Welcome back, Brooke.
Hi, Michelle. Thanks for having me.
Oh, look, it was a pleasure. And if you didn't get to see Brooke's first episode, which was episode number 68. Now, I do have that right. We did have a discussion about this.
Yes.
We don't want to be advertising someone else.
Not on my time.
Exactly. No one's stealing your thunder today. Okay, so your episode 68 is your first interview, and that is when you share about your life journey, how you got to where you are today, and you also throw in a few really, really interesting stories in there, which were quite profound in a way that you had multiple confirmations on what you had, the information and what you had experienced yourself in doing some house clearing. I don't want to give away too much because I want people to go back and actually watch it. And you
Absolutely.
can see it, and you can see it on YouTube, or you can listen on nearly every podcasting platform out there. So jump back to episode, I'll get it out eventually, episode 68, and take a look at Brooke's first interview. Now, would you like to share with the audience, Brooke, what it is that you do?
Well, I am a modern day shaman, and what that entails is I am a psychic energy healer. I do property clearings and exorcisms and manipulate the weather and anything that's energy related.
Wow. This manipulating the weather has me fascinated, but I know we'll probably go over that in another interview. So we don't want to give away too much.
Just look at what's behind me.
I know.
You think that just happened? No, that was all me.
Exactly. And when I jumped on, you're in the process of doing that. And I'm like, wow, that's incredible. Can you turn the orange up a little bit more in that? It was phenomenal. What a shame the audience missed it and we weren't recording. But I know you've got a lot more interesting stories to share with us today, because you've had quite the journey. And again, like I will reiterate, episode 68, go back and watch that or listen to that. And, you know, you do so many things. That's, I think, what I find the most interesting is how many different areas you've slipped into. And
so many of them have overlapped.
Yes.
And today we're going to see how they overlapped.
Oh, well, just in
one story.
Yeah. Okay. So with that, without further ado, do tell.
So this story, we'll go back to the summer of 2011. Here in, at least in New England, the paranormal investigator groups were in full swing. And, you know, they had advertisements on the radio. They had advertisements in the paper. There were flyers out on public bulletin boards. You know, if you've got a haunting, call us and we'll come investigate your paranormal activity. I was not part of that.
Oh.
But what I would do is, because I do clearings and do remove entities from properties, I would get a hold of a flyer or an advertisement and I would call them up and, you know, run through the basic questions of, oh, what kind of equipment do you use? And do you need to do it at night? And, tell me all about it and everything. So they give me the whole selling spiel to get them there, and which I wasn't interested in having them here because I didn't have a haunting. And so my final question would be, can you get rid of it? And then there would be like silence on the other end of the phone. And well, no, we can't get rid of it. I said, oh, then I guess I'm not out of a job. And they would just be like, excuse me? And no, I don't have a haunting. I'm just kind of putting feelers out there. So if somebody calls you in and you can take all of your equipment and get all of these readings and everything, that's all fine and dandy. But if you can't exercise the spirits, I guess you should call me.
Yeah.
So that's where this all started. So the summer of 2011, I picked up the phone and I called one of these local paranormal groups and gave them the spiel. And the last question was, can you get rid of it? And they were like, no, we cannot get rid of it. I said, oh, well, then I'm not out of a job. And the girl on the other end of the phone, Sarah, who was one of the founders of the group, her and her boyfriend had started the group. And she's like, excuse me? I said, yes, I can. I don't have the equipment, to get the readings that you do and everything, but I can make them go away. And she was like, I think we need to meet. I said, oh, you've encountered something like this before? And she goes, I have something in my house. In her house, the paranormal investigator's lead person has something in her house and she is terrified. I said, okay. So I made arrangements. I went down there. I met her and her boyfriend, Shaman. And she was a little strung out. I mean, so her story, she had a gift for most of her life since she was a little girl. And she thinks that when they moved, this entity came with her. Now, I can't verify that. But so I sat down with her. I said, okay. So she told me the story. And she's like, I'm terrified to get up in the middle of the night. I feel things tugging at my legs in the middle of the night. It pulls the sheets. It's pulled my hair. I refuse to go in the basement. And we know how you feel about basements.
Don't get me started.
We're not going to. But yeah, so she refused to even go in the basement. So she was losing sleep. And I said, okay. I said, so the first thing we're going to do is I'm going to work with you. I'm going to help you. I'm going to do a grounding on you. And so I sat with her and had her put her hands on top of mine, closed her eyes, took a few deep breaths, and just relaxed. And so through the process, I ground myself and I ground her, and I filled her with healing energy and got her to relax and focus on the grounding and feel what it would be like to not have that leveling of anxiety anymore. And so she was settling into it. So probably 15 minutes of that, I said, okay, so I'm gonna ask you a question, and I want you to tell me the first thing that comes to your mind. And she's like, okay. I said, give me an animal. And she's like, cat. I said, okay. So the shaman side of me, I went to the spirit side, and I found her a spirit guardian animal. And I wanted her to give me the animal. So she wanted a cat. Oh, are we talking a tabby cat? Are we talking a lion? It didn't matter. I go to the other side, and in front of me is this herd of different species of cats from the other side. And I present to them, I said, I have somebody here that needs a spirit animal, that needs a guardian to watch over her and protect her and become part of her. Is anybody willing to do this? And from the midst of this mass of animals steps this leopard, jaguar type animal. You know, it wasn't a black panther. It was speckled like a leopard. And it stepped forward, and they have the same personality, I guess. And I think that's what I'm looking for. When I ask for a guardian animal, I'm looking for something that matches the personality of the person that I'm finding it for. So this leopard steps forward, and I bring it forward. I do some energy work with it, and then I bring it to her. And I have her reach out. I have her touch it in her mind and become very comfortable with it, and to understand that that cat is never going to leave her side. It is going to protect her when she sleeps. If she's scared, to just turn to it. And you know, there's strength in numbers. So as opposed to being yourself, only being one facing your fears, at least you have your spirit animal to back you up and stand by your side. So I got them accustomed. Probably between the healing and doing that, it was probably 45 minutes. I said, okay, I'm just going to let you rest. Just sit here at the kitchen table. Think about everything that you have experienced. Think about this cat. Become one. You know, share the energy with this cat as it shares it with you. And I turned to her boyfriend. I said, do you want to give me a tour of the house? He goes, yep, absolutely. So we went through the downstairs, and we went through the upstairs, and everything seemed okay. Sarah said she wouldn't go in the basement. He's like, yeah. I said, okay, let's go to the basement. So he opens up the basement door, and down we go. It's just your typical, it's not a finished basement. The washer and dryer is down there. There's walls that are framed but not finished. And she's standing at the top of the stairs, and she will not come down. I said, okay. The energy down there was a little sketchy, I guess. Not terrifying, not to me. And so I'm looking around, and I'm looking into the dark corners and everything, and he's just standing back, just watching me do my thing. So there's a door off on a wall. So I asked him, I said, where does that door go? He goes, it goes to the backyard. I said, is it operational? Can we open the door? He goes, yeah, absolutely. So he goes over and he opens up the back door. And there it is, the backyard. So I go over, I grab the door. One instance, I'm in the basement. I take one step, I go out into the backyard. I said, okay. And I come back. On my way back on that step back into the basement, I get into the door casing. And to the right of me, inside that door casing, there is a hidden room in another realm, in another dimension. And I'm standing in that door casing, and I'm just like, oh my God, look at that. And at this point, he just took like 3 steps back and said, what? I said, there's a room here. He's like, what? And I'm like, there is a room outside of this door casing. He's like, I've seen some odd things, but now you're kind of freaking me out a little bit here. I'm like, and it wasn't scary. I had this feeling come over me that I had seen it before. Not the same particular room, but this experience of seeing something from another dimension, from another realm. And it took me back to a childhood memory. And I don't think it was a childhood of this lifetime. I think it was a previous lifetime that this happened. And as I looked, so I'm standing in the door casing, looking, just physically looking at the casing of the door. And as I turn my head like this, and as I'm moving, the room is shifting with it, almost like a funhouse mirror. So the dimensions of the room are kind of staying the same, but are shifting as I look. And the room was only, I'm going to say, like 10 by 10. And it looked like an old cellar. There was nothing in the room except a crate in the middle of the room. And I'm like, this is where that entity hangs out. When it's not bothering Sarah, it's hanging out in here. I said, okay, this is good to know. So I went out, I asked Sean, I said, is there anything else that I need to see? He goes, nope, you've seen everything. I said, okay, if you want to go back upstairs with Sarah, I said, I'm going to walk around the house, get the energy, the whole energy of the property as a feeling, and then I'll work on clearing it. So I stepped out of the basement into the backyard, and I started walking around the house. And I made one loop all the way around the house, and I'm in our previous discussion, I told you that I opened up a portal to another dimension to allow spirits and entities to leave the physical realm. I put a vacuum on this portal to persuade them. And so I walk around the house one time, and I'm clearing it. I'm moving the energy towards the portal. Nothing's happening that's odd. I get back down to the basement door and I start my second round, and I get to the first corner of the house, and it hits me in the back. I mean, it's me hard. I was just like, oh, we're going to play this game. And I heard this grumbling voice that said, you can't make me leave. And I said, yes, I can. And I continued around the house. I got back down to the basement door. I put a stronger vacuum on this portal, and I went to the basement door, and I stood in the door frame, and I looked at that room. And in my mind's eye, I destroyed this room. The walls started to crumble. Old barn boards just breaking in half and falling down into this crate. And it was nothing but a pile of rubble when I was done. And I took the energy of that room and I threw it in the portal. And I made one more loop around the house, and I said, you will be gone. You will not bother this girl again. Everything was quiet. It was like any breeze there was stopped. Any birds had stopped singing. Everything was just dead silent. So I went back inside. I went back into the basement. I went back upstairs. She was sitting at the kitchen table with her boyfriend, very, very relaxed, just how I had left her. And she was bonding with this cat. And when I came up the stairs, she was a little apprehensive as to what I had experienced. And I don't know if Sean had told her about the room. But when I came up, because of her experiences in the basement, was I going to be subject to them as well? And I sat down at the table and I said, "How do you feel?" She goes, I feel like I just came back from the spa. She goes, I'm so relaxed, and I feel so not necessarily protected, but I feel bonded with what you told me. She goes, "What happened down in the basement?" I said, "I don't think you're going to have a problem." I said, we're not going to go into details, but I got rid of it. And she's like, "I really hope so." So, we talked for like another 20 minutes, and I made my way on home. And I said, "If there's any problem," I said, "I will check back with you in a week. If there's any problems prior to me calling, call me." And a week later, I called her, I checked on her, and she goes, "I have slept better in the past week than I have in 2 years." She's like, "I haven't gone in the basement yet, but I can get up in the middle of the night. I'm not afraid. I wake up. I have a sense, just a short sense of terror when I wake up. And I see that cat next to me. And I get up and I go to the bathroom, and it honestly never leaves my side. And I go back to bed and everything's good." I said, "But you're sleeping, nothing's tugging at you, nothing's pulling your hair, nothing's pushing you." She goes, "No, nothing has disturbed any of my train of thought."
That's incredible. There's just so much to that story. I've just got so many questions, and which is so unlike me. I mean, come on now. I just, even listening to you talk about the spirit animal when you called in the cat, and you were doing, I was so goosebumps over and over and over and over again. It makes me wonder how many people will be contacting you to go, "Can you send me a spirit animal? I'd like one, please."
Yeah.
I love that. I don't think I've ever heard anybody talk about that. That fascinated me. I mean, the whole thing's fascinating, but that in itself was like, wow. And so powerful.
Yeah. It really is. And so when I asked her, I'm going to ask you a question, and I want you to tell me the first thing. So there's no premeditated thought. So the first thing that comes out, if she had said horse or dog, or I don't know spider, I mean, who knows?
Yeah.
It's not for me to decide. It needs to be her first react. It needs to be your first reaction as to what I go and ask to step forward.
Yeah.
Because
spontaneous.
Because if I had just gone to the other side and said, I need a wolf to protect this girl because a wolf is ferocious, and it wouldn't have bonded, and it could have actually gone the wrong way.
Yeah. And it's interesting that you say that, Brooke, because so many people might think, "Oh, I'm going to try that." But there are processes, procedures, and you have the experience, knowledge, and information to do this properly. So you're not then bringing through, like you just said, something that could be more damaging and more harmful to the client.
And again, like I said, I mean, it's if I was going on my intuition as to what would protect you, something, a wolf, a bear, something ferocious. I mean, granted, a leopard is ferocious, but a leopard is cunning, and stalking and very sleek, and you don't necessarily think, you might think a lion because of the king of the jungle or whatever, but for me to go to the other side and ask of all of the cat world, what is willing to step forward to be with her, to always be with her.
Yeah, I love that. So from then on, she was good. Like you said, she got up in the middle of the night. And I love the fact that she did check back with you. She did confirm, because it was firsthand happening to her, that she was able to confirm with you that all of that wasn't. And I mean, that's pretty severe. Tugging of a hair. Do you know what I mean? Like, that's physical harm, really.
Well, like I said, I mean, when I was walking around the house, I mean, and it felt like a board hitting me in the back, and it startled me, but it didn't scare me. Yeah. I mean, it's not my ego that's protecting me. It's my conviction with spirit and the understanding of all energies, because that's what everything is. I mean, it's just energy, and it's how is that energy going to be manipulated?
Yeah. And you say manipulated not in an evil way, but manipulated in a way that is for the highest good.
Or however the conductor of that energy chooses to use it, whether it's for good purposes, for bad purposes, for healing, for destruction.
Yeah. Yeah. I just wanted to clarify that, because a lot of people might see manipulation as something that is done on bad terms. But when you're using that word, in the spiritual sense, it has a different connotation and it has a different meaning. But I mean, look, like, what was the feeling of that? What was it? Was it an entity? Was it a once living thing? Like, could you get a feel for? Was it demonic?
So I don't know that I can say it was demonic. I've experienced enough with people that have passed and animals that have passed and elemental energy, wind and fire and earth and the energies. Not that I've experienced all energies, but as far as this one entity, I'm pretty sure it was never human. So it was not a ghost. It was not a previously living human that was tailing her. It was something of yet another dimension, whether it be a demonic dimension. I don't know that.
Yeah. So why do you think, and I know many people might have a different perspective or, idea of why do you think it was so attracted to her? Like, was there something about her? Was she going through something traumatic, or like what?
I don't know, because like she said, when I got there, it had been with her since she was a little kid. So I don't think it was something that started in this lifetime. I think this is something that has been bonded in some way, whether it be, I don't know.
I say witchcraft.
Bonded to her through several, or at least a couple of her human lifetimes. But I don't think it was a human energy.
Yeah. And that's a good reason why we don't mess around with those type of entities or that dark magic or anything like that, because you don't know what you're messing with. I mean, not to say that that's how it happened, but you know, a lot of times we hear those stories. So with it being, was it becoming more active with her as she got older? Like she said, it was with her since she was a child.
I think so. I think as she was when I was there, she was in her early 20s. And you know, it wasn't this aggressive with her when she was 13, but and you know, it so she wasn't terrified her whole life of it. She always knew it was there. And I think that's one reason why they started the paranormal investigator group, because she had an experience, a returning experience, a never ending experience with something from the other side, but without knowing where it came from or what realm it was from or what its intentions even were. Maybe she was getting too close to whatever its meaning was with the paranormal investigations. I don't know.
Yeah. So her boyfriend, could he sense it?
He was not traumatized by it like she was. He didn't have a problem getting up. I don't think it bothered him. I don't know that he could even sense it. He was more of the techie and had the equipment and, you know, did the recordings and, you know, did the investigative stuff, whereas she was the spiritual part of it.
Yeah, okay. And had they taken some of their equipment to see if they could pick up anything with this spirit, or they hadn't gone there yet?
I think she was absolutely terrified. She didn't want to upset it anymore, being that they were living with it.
Yeah, yeah.
And I have talked to people before that, you know, I've been called in to see if I felt things in the house, and I do. And then I'll ask them, you know, are you happy with it here or do you want it gone? Because if you want it gone, I can do that. And I've had a couple people say, I'm not really happy with it here, but we don't want to piss it off.
Yeah.
You know, so if I can't do what I'm saying I can do, then they're going to be the recipients of more.
Yeah, the backlash.
That's the backlash of it. Yep.
Yeah, yeah. And I love the fact that you were able to remove these entities and send them, you know, away into another portal, like open a portal up and send them away. Because you do see so many paranormal investigator, like I watch that sort of thing on YouTube all the time, but you never find out what happened to that entity, what happened in the haunting. Did they move the spirit on? That part never happens. So I love the fact that you are, you know, you come in and you tidy that up and you wrap that up in a nice, neat little bow and everything's safe again. I love that part.
It has been so far.
Okay, so
and again, like our last interview, you know, I've wrapped it up starting with my first one, which was my property. You know,
yes.
where I was the one being affected.
Yeah, and that's so important to you understand. You've had that experience, so you understand where people are coming from when they approach you and say, "Hey, I've got this haunting in my house or something's happening." You've been there, you understand what it's like.
I've not only physically felt them, I've emotionally felt them because, you know, like our last meeting, you know, I got depressed. I was in a depressed state because of the entity that was on the property.
Yeah.
So I know how it can affect you physically, emotionally.
And do you find that with the people you work with, when they've got something like what this woman had, Sarah, in her house, was she becoming more? I know the terror can feed them, but was she becoming more depressed? Had her boyfriend noticed that she was changing in any way, or she hadn't got to that point yet?
I don't think she had gotten to that point yet, because she was just at the terrified state, which personally, that really kind of surprised. It didn't surprise me that she was terrified. It surprised me that they were still conducting paranormal investigations.
Yeah.
That's what surprised me, because you've already got something in your own house. Do you want to go out and play in other people's backyards and potentially bring that home too?
Oh, yeah, that's it, isn't it?
I'm not sure that they even thought of that. I think they were just going out because, were they poking the bear, so to speak, by coming in with all of their equipment and just, oh yeah, there's things here, but one, they're only picking up on the energies that their machines can provide to them.
Yes.
Because neither of them were a medium, where a medium could have gone in and given an identity or a reasoning behind it, or to go in with somebody like me that, I'm not looking for an identity. I can relate to the energy and I can get it gone.
Yeah. Wow. And that's and for coming from Australia, as far as I'm concerned with what I see, and I know it's movies and TV, I know that, but some of these are paranormal investigator shows. There just seems to be so many haunted houses, buildings, land in America, like so much. And I think it's really important, the work that you're doing, because if the land is haunted and you put a house on that, you've then got a haunted house because of the land. And I love the fact that you have this ability and this skill to be able to help these people to live safely, comfortably, and peacefully within their own environment, in their own house, on their own land, and thoroughly enjoy that. Like I said, you don't see that and you don't hear that out there. I know I'll probably be bombarded with paranormal investigators going, hang on a minute, that's not true. But from what I've seen, maybe you need to start, paranormal investigators, you need to start making better videos then on what happens after the fact, because you see a lot of them walking away, but that thing's still there.
Yeah.
They've got the evidence. That's great. Well, now what? Now what's happening?
And you've seen the shows where they've pissed them off.
Yes, deliberately, to get reactions.
Deliberately. So I actually worked once with a paranormal group that in order to raise the spirit's energy to be picked up with their technology, that's what they try to do. They try to irritate them, because the irritating of the spirit builds the energy enough to set off the machines.
Yeah. Oh.
But you never see the end result of that. Like you said, they pack up their stuff and they go away. Well, what's left after they leave?
Yeah. Yeah. Besides a very, as you say, pissed off spirit.
Yeah.
That's probably now wreaking even more havoc because, you just ticked it off in all the wrong ways. Oh.
So now that we've touched on that, I kind of wonder if that might be part of the reason why a lot of the paranormal investigators go to abandoned buildings.
Ah, good point. Yes, good point. Yeah, because there's no one physically living in there that can be harmed or affected after the fact.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. So can we just touch base on the basement thing? And if you watch Brooke's episode 68, you'll hear what my thoughts are on basements. Anyway, we don't have them, so to speak, so like America does in Australia.
Just fill them in.
Exactly. Concrete them in. That's my advice. Concrete them in. No problems, no hauntings. I'm curious to know why the basement. Like you said, you went down there was a room off of that. Why the basement? Why?
My reasoning for it.
Well, what's your thoughts on that? What do you think about that?
So you're actually the first person to actually question that I've heard. And just my first instinct to that, my first instinctual answer to why the basement or the attic.
Oh, don't get me started on that one either. Yes.
Oh, okay. So here's my answer. It's cooler. It's cooler energy.
Oh. Okay, I didn't think of that. That's interesting. Cooler energy.
Because cooler energy is denser and not as active as, say, the living room. I mean, the living room is nice and comfortable. I mean, yes, obviously there are entities that hang out in the living room or the cold spots at the end of the couch.
I was just thinking about that. When you literally before you said that, in my mind, I'm going, that would make sense why people talk about cold spots in houses.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh, that makes perfect sense.
And that would make perfect sense to me in feeling all of the energies that I've experienced in a lot of places. The basements and the attics are the most non-climate controlled areas of the whole building, and the basement is always cool.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense.
That was a really good question. I'm really glad you asked that question, because I get a
tick and a gold star.
I never thought of that.
Yeah. Well, see, that's hence why it's always come up with why the base. Every movie, everything you watch, stories, basement, the basement. And my husband's American. I'm like, why? Why even have one? If you eliminated all basements, no hauntings, spirits are gone, everybody's safe.
So in that thought, the second contributing factor to basements and attics is the lighting. So it's less climate controlled, and it's darker or not as brilliant lighting. Yeah,
yes. That's so true. Oh, I never even thought of that. That's a really great answer. I'm impressed. Like it's so obvious. It's like, how do I not, how long have I been doing this work for? And I didn't even think of that. That's like, what? Yeah, that's brilliant. I love that. That would make perfect sense. Okay.
Good. I get a check for that one.
And a gold star. Because, and I'm just going to say this now that you've said that, it makes me now reflect on when I'm working with spirit as a medium. And I know a lot of mediums say they feel cold. I mean, everybody experiences something different, but I actually get extremely hot. Like, I mean, I will go through a moment in first connection where I will be perspiring from every single pore in my body, like ridiculously so much heat. And then it slowly dissipates as I continue the connection. But when they first come in, that heat is phenomenal. and the vibration is higher and lighter. And so that makes what you're saying makes perfect sense. The coldness, the coolness, the denser energy, perfect sense. Yeah, in being able to now compare between the two. Wow. I just find that incredible. And do you think then that's why, and we might be getting a little off topic, yes and no, but it's still related with when there are hauntings or, where people have been, say, murdered in basements or bad things have happened in basements. Do you think, and this is again, I appreciate your opinion. Do you think it's because when a person is filled with dark energy themselves, they are drawn down to that dense, dark energy in a basement?
Yes.
Right. And then realistically.
And, okay. So not people with dark energy that, are going to kill somebody in the basement, that's where they're going there. But if you're getting latched onto, where does okay, so like I have been, had an entity attached to me. And what happened to me? I became depressed. My energy went dark. My energy went cold.
Yeah.
So it's not being raised to a higher energy. It's being sucked down or weighted down to that which is affecting you.
Yeah, yeah.
And so I can understand now why, spiritual people that are enlightened, when I do a healing, my hands heat right up. I mean, the energy becomes very hot and the room gets very bright because I'm healing. And if you're dealing with energies that are not healing, then they're smothering.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, see, and now everything's just clicked into place now. I've never heard that explanation being given like that and never put it all together. It's almost like the pieces of the puzzle are now complete. I can see you know what I mean? It all makes so much sense now.
You're starting to see the picture, yep.
Yeah, with the different energies and why they would be manifesting in different areas of a house. So again, viewers and listeners.
And abandoned properties.
Yes.
Because they're not climate controlled.
Yeah. Wow. So viewers and listeners, here's your answers. This is gold. This is absolute gold. And
turn your furnace up.
Yeah, exactly. Heat your attics and your basements and they'll all disappear. But this is your story, the whole story and everything that you've talked about there is the perfect example of why people should never, ever, unless you are experienced, you are a professional, do this themselves, attempt to do anything like this themselves. Always call in someone who has experience, who has the information, knowledge, and know-how on how to deal with these types of situations and energies and how to banish them. And I'm going to say, and I don't want to diss, paranormal investigators because they do amazing work and they do bring incredible confirmation and, to verify that spirit, there are spirits in houses and hauntings are really happening and they do happen. And I find it fascinating, hence why I always watch them. But to clear them, you've got to find the right people. So it may be a 2-step process is what I'm saying. Yes, have your paranormal investigators, but to actually remove that energy, you need someone like Brooke to come in and, like I say, wrap that package up nice and neatly and tie a little bow on it so everybody's living peaceful, harmoniously, and that spirit is out of there. That's the sort of person you need. So again, we could look at this as a 2-step process. Or if you get Brooke in, you can just do it all in one hit. Save yourself some time and money.
If you want it gone, yes. But I mean, if you want, the good thing about paranormal investigators is they can provide the tangible evidence that there's other energies there. Whereas I can tell you that. I mean, but then you're just taking me on my word, and
absolutely.
And I'm not really, unless I connect with them and get them to do something physical, which I don't do. Yeah. I don't do that. I'm more about clearing and regaining a balance of energies between the spirit world and the physical world and the residents of the property.
Yeah. And like you said, it's sometimes poking the bear, trying to get them to respond and get them active is simply poking the bear. And if you're living in a house that you've had that activity, I don't know that you really want it heightened by having someone in poking that evil spirit rather than just coming in, communicating, clearing, get it out of there. And the evidence that you provide is in the fact that the people living there can feel the difference. They know the difference because their life has changed and the energy in their house has changed.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, wow. It's been such an interesting discussion. I love this, and my mind just works overtime. I'm sure we'll get off this interview and I'll be like, hang on, I have more questions.
I've got more questions.
Exactly. But again, it's very fascinating. When you say that about basements and attics, it's almost like I feel like I can just let that topic go now. Because I always, why? Every movie, why? And now I'm like, okay, that makes sense. I get it.
I'm glad I could shed some light on it for you.
But this is the beauty of stories being told. They branch off to other aspects and curiosities. Like I said, and even the animal spirit coming through, I had goosebumps when you were telling that. That was just incredible. I'm like, wow, that's amazing. I love that. So it's a really, for me, it's a really fun experience because it's not something you can buy a ticket for, and it's not an amusement park ride. It's not a vacation. It's something all on its own, and then to connect on that level. I mean, you're a medium. You connect on a level that a lot of people can't connect on, and how that makes you feel to make that connection, I'm sure is very similar to mine. Yeah, it's the wow factor. That's all I call it, the wow factor. And it's just incredible and phenomenal. But I also love the fact that Sarah, the lady of the house, was also very deeply connected to that spirit animal and how she felt with it. That's, again, the proof and confirmation. I just want to clap my hands. The proof and confirmation that this is really happening. This is really happening, and I think that's the big takeaway from this. And again, like you say, they contacted you afterwards and everything felt different. She was improved. She could get up in the middle of the night and, and do whatever she had to do. That in itself is huge. Yeah.
Because if it didn't get taken care of, where's that going to lead her?
Exactly. That's exactly right. And it's very fortunate that she was open to all of this. Some people aren't, and they dismiss it as, I don't even know what they call it. It's, it's not true. It's all in my mind. I'm going insane. I'm crazy. Do you know what I mean? And and so simply you could come in, remove that entity, and all was well again in the world.
Yep.
Incredible. Oh, wow. Thank you so much, Brooke, for sharing that with us. I almost feel like I just feel like I've got this weight lifted off my shoulders now. You answered so many of my questions that I just think, did I not think of that? But it takes for an expert to step in and teach me. Again, you're teaching others out there who may have the same questions. And it just shows we're all students and teachers, and what we can learn from hearing someone else's story and opinion or, facts about what is. So thank you.
It's like I've said, it's always about asking the right questions to the right people.
Yes, exactly.
And sometimes you don't know what the question is. You get the answers before you get the questions. But
yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Oh, Brooke, where can people find you?
My email is theshamantrail@gmail.com.
Excellent. And I will put that in the links below in the description, so you can easily contact Brooke. Now, Brooke does house clearings. You are in New England. I don't know.
I'm in northern New England, yes.
Okay. So if you have activity in your house or something likewise, or healing, if you have not watched episode 68 on the incredible stories Brooke tells about healing, please go back and watch. You are missing a really, really life-changing story.
Literally.
I just want to throw, I know I'm not going to say it because then that'll be a spoiler. I'll tell you after we get off the interview. Oh, that's leaving everybody intrigued now. There's something about that healing story that I want to tell you about. Anyway, go back and watch it is all I'm going to say, and make a comment below and share your stories, because we'd love to hear. If you're a paranormal investigator, do share. I'm not against them. I think they do some brilliant work, bring through some amazing evidence. I mean, I always talk about I'd love to have that experience. I'd be the one doing the screaming all the time every time something happens, exciting, but scary. So, please comment, share your experiences. We'd love to hear it. And Brooke is up for hire. Contact him and life could be peaceful once again.
Wouldn't that be nice?
Wouldn't that be nice? Thank you so much, Brooke, and I look forward to having you back again on the Medium's Table
Thank you, Michelle.
Soon.
It's been a pleasure.
Thank you. To view the show notes, head over to themediumstable.com.au. If you want to watch these episodes, head over to our YouTube channel, The Medium's Table Podcast.